For this assignment, I decided to do the Warden's Daughter for a 5th to 7th grade reading level. This book is about a young girl who lives in a prison, and she doesn't have a mom. So it's just her and her dad, and they live in the prison because her dad is a warden. And she discusses how the people in the prison are kind of like her, like mother figures. And it goes through the book and explains what it's like to live in a prison, because obviously most kids don't live in prisons. So to start, it gives a short passage about how she feels later in life, and then it goes into where it starts back into when she was a kid living in the actual prison. So to start for the more modern or newer passage, we'll begin that and then start to read chapter 1. It's a birdhouse now. It used to be a jailhouse. The Hancock County Prison. Cell blocks once rang with bean boppers on the iron bars and bad words flying day and night. Now finches and warblers and scarlet tangers sing and flutter behind the walls of glass. The old quiet room, with its glass roof and tin wheelbarrow pouring water into a tiny pool, was supposed to keep the prisoners calm. Almost no one was there but the trustees who tended the plants and flowers. Now children squeal as butterflies land on their heads and shoulders. Where there used to be 2 exercise yards, men's and women's, there is now a single garden, a paradise where turtles and peacocks roam. It was the second waterfall, high as the wall. Pebbled paths, ponds, water lilies, foot-long goldfish, an occasional turkey buzzard lands whenever it likes. Except for the sign, it looks the same as always from the front. Like a fortress in the medieval ages, massive, sooty stone walls, arched oaken doors, a sky-piercing tower with narrow bow and arrow slots, should the castle ever need defending. The prison was one city block. It was home to over 200 inmates, men and women from shoplifters to murderers, and one family, mine. I was the warden's daughter. So now we're going to start on chapter 1, which is Cammie in the year 1959. Breakfast time in the prison. The smell of fried crapple filled the apartment. It happened every morning. I could teach you how to do it yourself, she said. It's simple. I want you to do it, I said. You'll be a teenager soon. You'll have to learn someday. You're doing it, I told her. Case closed. Her name was Eloda Pupico. She was a prisoner trustee. She took care of our apartment above the prison entrance. Washed, ironed, dusted, and kept me company. Housekeeper, Cammie keeper. At the moment, she was braiding my hair. Okay, she said. Done. I squawked. Already? I didn't want her to be done. This little bit? She gave a tug. She was right. I wanted a pigtail down the middle, but all my short hair allowed was barely a one-nighter, a pig stub. I felt her leaving. I whirled. No! She stopped. The first thing that came to my mind. I want a ribbon. Her eyes went wide, and then she laughed and kept laughing. She knew what I knew. I was anything but a hair ribbon kind of girl. I sat on the counter stool, dressed in dingeries, black and white high-top keds, and a striped t-shirt. My baseball glove lay on the other stool. When she had laughed herself out, she said, Ribbon? On Cannonball Firebug? She had a point on both counts. Cannonball was my nickname. As for Firebug... In school 2 months earlier, we had been learning about this Unami, the Native Americans from our area. This inspired me to make a fire the old-fashioned Unami way. For reasons knowable only to the brain of a 6th grader, I decided to do so in our bathtub. On the way home from school one day, I detoured to the railroad tracks and creek and collected my supplies. A quartzstone, a rusty iron track bed, spike, a handful of dry mossy stuff in the ground under a bunch of pine trees. I laid it all in the bathtub and climbed in. Over the mossy nest, I smashed and scratched the stone and spike into each other. My arms were ready to fall off when a thin curl of smoke rose out to the nest. I blew on it. A spark appeared. What are you doing? Said Eloda from the doorway. I glanced up at her and screamed because the spark had flamed and burned my thumb. Stone and spike clinked on the porcelain. Eloda turned on the shower, putting out the fire and drenching me. When I dried off and changed my clothes, she put Vaseline and a Band-Aid on the burn. She told me to tell people I had cut myself slicing tomatoes. Eloda tapped my hand. Let me see. I showed her. The burn was just a pale pink trace by now. She took my hand in both hands. She seemed to hold it a little longer than necessary. Number one law, she said. No more fires, I said. She made me recite the words every time she changed the Band-Aid, and she still made me say it. Then her hands were off of me, but I was still feeling her. It was her eyes. She was staring at me in a way that seemed to mean something, but I would not find out what till years later. So this part right here where she says she was staring at me in a way that seemed to mean something, but I would not find out till years later. What do you guys think maybe Cami means by that? Could it possibly be like she's giving Cami the mom look, and since Cami is still pretty young, she doesn't really understand that maybe Oloda is like this mother figure to her? It could be meaning that she's giving like a caring look to her and that she doesn't quite understand until she's older and maybe mom herself. Okay. Tell you what, she said, breaking the spell. If you make it to 3 knots, I'll get you a ribbon. Again, she started to leave. Again, I blurted, you're so lucky. Again, she stopped. That's me, Miss Lucky. I mean it, I said. You get to have Scramble every day. You're right, she said. That's why I decided to live here. I love the Scrapple. She walked away. Stop! She stopped. She waited, her back turned to me. You can't go, I told her. I have work to do, she said, stepping into the dining room. I'm your boss, I called, and instantly wish I could take it back. I added lamely, when my dad's not here. Her shoulders turned just enough so so she could look back at me. Surprisingly, she did not seem angry. She sighed. Miss O'Reilly. I stopped her. My name is Cami. Miss Cami? No, I snapped. No, miss, just Cami. She stared. Say it. She kept staring. Please. Now she was angry. My name, barely audible, came out with a blow and a breath. Cami. She walked away. This was in mid-June, the fourth day of summer vacation when I was 12, and I had decided Eldo Pupko must become my mother. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stop there. Chapter 1 was pretty short, but I just wanted to give a quick overview of the story. So what do you guys think it was like for Cami living in a prison? Like, do you think she was scared of the prisoners, or do you think she becomes friends with some of them? Like, what do you guys think it would be like living in a prison, or how do you think she feels about it? Because she doesn't seem too upset about it. So if you guys want to think about that. And then, do you guys think that Oloda kind of puts it on herself to become Cami's mother figure, or do you think that throughout this book, this is something that Cami kind of forces? Because, earlier she said, I had decided that Pupko must become my mother. But then earlier when we had discussed it in the middle of the story, she said that she gave her a weird look, that she wouldn't, or a stare in a way that she didn't understand until years later. This could be leading up to how Cami and Oloda's relationship changes. And I also wonder too, what do you guys think, how do you guys think her dad is going to react to all of this? Because so far we haven't read about her dad yet, but I would imagine that if her mom passed away, it might be hard for him to see Cami becoming so close with these prisoner trustees and all these people, and like they're her new mother figures. Do you think that might upset him, or do you think he would be happy that she would be making friends and finding someone to help take care of her? And then finally, for our response activity, I want you guys to write 1 page on what you think it would be like to live in a prison. And you can write about a male and a female prison, or just a male prison, or just a female prison. You can connect it to the TV shows that you've watched on like prison shows or people in prisons, or what you've read, or even just kind of if you've read other books about this, you can base it off of that. If you've read this book before, you can kind of base it off of that. Sure, how you would feel at your age if you lived in a prison. Like, would you be scared? Would you have fun? Would you try to be friends with the prisoners? Doesn't have to be super long. Maybe one page. You can fill up the back of the page if you want. Just give me enough good ideas of how you would feel. I think maybe this story makes me feel like Cammie doesn't really mind, and that she kind of makes it like a fun adventure living there. So you could write about that. What kind of adventures would you have if you lived in a prison? I'm gonna let you guys be pretty creative with this assignment, just to get the juices flowing. So I think that's it for today. Thanks, guys. Let me know if you have any questions.